Good morning. My name is Jeff Shalau and I work for the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension in Yavapai County. We're talking about fruit tree pruning today, and I'm going to demonstrate some different techniques that we would use to prune deciduous fruit trees. But before we do that, something about the place where we are. We're in Chino Valley, Arizona, and that's at about 5,000 feet elevation. It's an excellent area to grow deciduous fruit trees, but it has its challenges, of which we'll talk about some today. Peach trees probably require the most thinking about pruning and also the most time. So what I recommend people do is prune all peach trees and other stone fruit trees to an open center. That means they're going to be vase shaped, and the origination of those branches is going to start maybe a couple of feet off the ground. And you'll notice that with all of the stone fruit trees virtually that we're pruning today. Generally, two different kinds of pruning cuts that you're going to want to make. One is called a heading cut, and you will hardly ever want to make those, and then the rest are going to be thinning cuts, which 95 to 100% of your cuts should be on most pruning jobs that you're going to do. On a thinning cut, what you do is you go all the way back to where the branch originates. So if I were going to remove this branch right down here, I would go all the way to the base of it. I wouldn't cut just a little bit off of it here or up above. A thinning cut goes all the way back to where that branch originates. A heading cut, by comparison, is where you cut close to the tip of a branch with the intention that the buds below that will break. On a peach tree, there's really no reason to do that. On apple trees and pear trees, as we'll see, there may be reasons to do that if you're trying to fill out a certain area of the tree. Again, on a thinning cut, you take it all the way to the base and remove it completely where it ties in with the next branch. And with a heading cut, you go down expecting the 3 or 4 buds below that point to resume growth when it breaks dormancy. Often I will just start removing every other branch. I'll be looking for dead ones. I'll be looking for the downwardly growing ones to remove those. So by pruning off these smaller little branches, hopefully what I'm going to do is encourage these remaining branches to have more girth and vigor in them next year. Because that's, again, where our fruit's going to end up being formed. So this fine work here may seem like it'll take a long time, and it does, but it pays off both in allowing the light penetration to the lower branches and redirecting that growth to create more vigor in the remaining branches. This one's dead. That one's not doing real well. Still alive. That one I'll just take that off. This one's growing inwardly, but it's not growing very vigorously inwardly, so I think I'll just leave it right there. There's some space for it. That one I'll put there. And here, I'm going to leave that piece right there. So we talked a little bit about why open center is preferred for certain types of trees, and others people tend not to use it as much. And one of the reasons, I just trimmed this out to illustrate that this tree is an open center, and this was trying to be a central leader in there again. So I removed it. But the idea being, for a home orchard, really what you want to be able to do is do most of your pruning, cultural practices, fertilization if you're going to do any spraying, but to do it from the ground rather than from the air. And then it also makes a big difference when you start netting your trees to prevent birds and other organisms from getting your fruit. It's mostly birds around here, and this orchard was netted last year, and it protected the fruit very well. As I'm pruning a branch, I want to get rid of all these little tiny laterals that really aren't putting on much growth and encourage the growth to go to the remaining ones, because that's again where the fruiting wood is going to be. So I'll try and leave 3 or 4, and I'll actually take the main leader off of that one, leave that like that, maybe even go back to there with that one. I'm going to get rid of one of these two, probably that one, and just try again to open it up, focus the growth to fewer growing points, so hopefully we can get some more diameter growth and more vigorous fruiting wood for the following year. One of the things that you need to understand as you're learning how to prune a fruit tree is that there's really, there's some right and wrong things that you can do, but there's nothing really that's irreparable. And as long as you're pruning for what you think are good reasons, and you've had some training along those lines, then what you're going to really learn from is observing the results of your pruning as it grows the following season. So again, all I'm doing is doing a lot of thinning here. Actually, that whole branch. Okay. Sometimes I like to leave these branches on the top because as a tree gets older, these little branches will provide shade. And as a peach tree gets older, if the branch is exposed to the sun on the top, say as if we looked down into the center of this tree, these surfaces like this often start getting borers, and then they don't have any shade, and then the sun scald continues to work on the tree, and we'll probably see some branches. In fact, I see a branch like that on the other side of this tree. Typically, peach trees are productive for about 25 or so years. What often happens is branches start dying, or as you can see on this one, you've got southwest injury, again demonstrating the need for either shading of the trunk or painting the trunks white with that 50-50 latex paint mixture. This tree though, believe it or not, had 150 pounds of peaches or more on it last summer. So it is far from being at the end of its productive life. So you just want to take good care of the trees, and when they get to be this age, you really want to just maybe back off from pruning them so hard as you would prune a younger tree. By the way, this tree has not been really pruned very much at all yet this year. Actually, I'll just take that whole leader off, leave it like that. Just take that back to there too. This branch up here maybe not quite as much, but down in here, and that's kind of my first pass, and then I always make a second pass and find a few more little cuts that I see that I can make that'll make it a little bit better, like even right in here. And so just trying to get it opened and thinned to about this density is good for a peach tree.